and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network, Thursday, March 12th. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, Tass Mellis.
Hello, everybody out there.
Hey, Tessie, we got the bearded one, Trey Kirby.
Heyo.
Heyo. The international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lily, and last but not least, making the magic happen, it's JD.
Hello.
There he is, and here we are for what is going to be a very weird edition of the No Dunks podcast. Let's just get right into it. This is crazy. The NBA suspended its season last night after Jazz center Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus. So the league released a statement. Quote, the NBA suspending gameplay following the conclusion of Wednesday's schedule of games until further notice. The NBA will use this hiatus to determine next steps for moving forward in regard to the coronavirus pandemic. So, I mean, you guys saw it. I'm sure a lot of you listening saw what was going on last night. Thunder Jazz, they're about to start this game, and then suddenly there's confusion. What's going on? Both teams are then immediately quarantined to their locker rooms. I guess the Thunder players eventually left. The Jazz players were tested late last night. We're still waiting on the results of some of the other Jazz members. Does anybody else on this team have it? They didn't play this game, and then this statement comes out. And then there was one more game that was going to be tipping. It was Pelicans-Kings. That one eventually postponed because one of the referees, Courtney Kirkland, who was scheduled to work that Pelicans-Kings game, he had just worked a game in Utah, Raptors-Jazz, and everyone's like, well, I mean, he can't be working this one, and now Gobert has the coronavirus. I mean, let's get rid of this game too. So they postponed that. So this is where we're at. I guess your takeaway from watching this all unfold in real time last night, which was, pure insanity, really. We've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it was odd to see other games actually going on after the Thunder Jazz game was happening. In a perfect world, there would have been 0 games happening last night, and they would have all been cleared off the board, and the NBA would have suspended their season. So there was that sort of feeling of this is extremely strange. Mm-hmm. That being said, this is absolutely the right thing to do, and all teams around the league are going to quarantine their players. The Venn diagram of all the teams having played each other within the last couple of weeks when Rudy Gobert could have had the virus in the last 14 days. You can have it for 14 days until you feel symptoms. So they played the Wizards 2 weeks ago. The Wizards, according to Fred Katz, are telling their players, you got to get quarantined. Yeah. The Toronto Raptors, who the Jazz played on Monday, have told their players, all their personnel, you got to be quarantined. So that's what's happening in the NBA. And we thought a couple days ago, we talked about the stopgap measure, which was the reporters being 6 to 8 feet away from players. We thought, I personally thought, we all talked about it as a stopgap measure. I thought the only good thing that could come from that is that a player may not contract it from a reporter, because then the whole league would shut down. Now, Rudy Gobert could have got it a couple weeks ago. That could have absolutely been nothing, but now we are at that position, and here we are. What is there to say after that other than every single person in the population really should be getting tested? But, I mean, let's talk about the NBA, because I'm sure you're tuning in for a bit of a diversion. But we'll get to that, I'm sure. But
you're right. I mean, I think it was at StatMuse tweeting last night, this idea of just how quickly this all spreads, because these teams play each other in a contact sport, and, it's a breeding ground, any locker room for anything being, passed around a virus. So all 30 NBA teams can be connected in just the last 5 days.
Yeah,
like you can do it like ping, 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 ping.
I went through that StatMuse. It's a bit of
a stretch?
That doesn't really make sense, that whole 5-day thing, because they played on Monday. Rudy Gobert played Toronto on Monday, but then the Venn diagram says, well, the Raptors played these teams prior to Monday, so if it was from Rudy Gobert, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Anyways, but the last 2 weeks, there was a Venn diagram. There's a lot more people that have it in the world. And
there's a lot more people in the NBA.
Yeah,
it's not just Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
There are other guys that have it, and that's why every team should be quarantined, and I'm sure they will be by the end of the week. It honestly felt like the scene in a Contagion movie where you're getting all the headlines from around the world of crazy things that have happened with the virus. NBA suspends season, Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, they have it. The president has closed the borders. These sort of things look like things you would see spinning onto the screen in a movie about this. Yeah. And it was just unbelievable to see them all piling up. And at least the NBA made the right move to suspend the season. They could have been like the NCAA, and they're just trying to wait it out, see if there's any way they can still try and get some money out of this, but that's a stupid way to go about things. So the key is flattening the curve, and this will hopefully happen.
Right. It just took a player, unfortunately.
They should have done it before, but
positive.
I mean, that's just how it's going to be with a big business.
That's what they were trying to do, is just hope that it didn't actually hit someone who's an actual face and a player in the game.
So games could, in theory, still be played. Maybe there's no fans in the arena, but the season would continue. Money's still made through broadcasting, all that. You're right.
Even if it was a support staff, I think then they would have been like, you know what, get that person away from the team, but everyone else can sort of continue to play. But I like the fact that the NBA, once this came out with Rudy Gobert, they didn't even hesitate. They just said, right, the season suspended. Mm-hmm. So I guess that was a contingency plan they had in place. They probably discussed and said, if someone gets it though, the season's on hold. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the Raptors have advised their players to quarantine for at least 14 days gives us some indication that we won't be seeing basketball for a minimum 2 weeks here.
Yeah, right. You would think so.
Probably longer. I expect it'll be longer, but we know that, and you mentioned there, Fred Katz saying the Wizards have told their players 4 days. Well, clearly, if every team isn't ready to go, the season just cannot resume. But
14 days. Fred Katz said 14 days.
Oh, did I? thought he said only 4 days. But anyway, whatever.
I may have said 4 days, but there's a teen in there for sure.
Right.
There's no 4 days, 4 day cure here.
Anyway, whatever. The point
for
is,
everybody.
The point is that we may not see basketball again this season. But we possibly will.
Yeah, I think
Cuban told Rachel Nichols this morning that this is going to be a suspension and it could go. And you should be ready to players and everybody should be ready to play into August.
Yeah. So I thought Windhorst had a great point. I saw him writing about this today. At the minimum, you're right, Lee. This is going to be 2 weeks, and that's far-fetched that we're going to be playing basketball 2 weeks from now. Windhorst says, by comparison, when the virus broke out in China, the Chinese Basketball Association, they suspended play in late January, and they are not even back yet. So they are in the process of returning here in early April. That's like approximately 10 weeks, just to use that as an example. So it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. I think we can agree with that. Now, there are really like 3 options when it comes to the regular season, right, with the NBA, in my opinion. One, they just cancel it completely. This season is done. There is no regular season games to be played. There's no playoffs. There's no champion. And it's just a wrap. And
baseball strike style.
Yeah, and you obviously let the hopefully get the virus under control, forget the leagues in North America and the world, and then, knock on wood, you just start a new season come October. I think that's far-fetched. I think they're in a weird way, they're going to want some sort of ending to the season. It would be odd. So the second option, they come back when, obviously, everyone feels safe to do so, be it in front of fans or not, but 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is. And you just pick up where we left off. So we play the remaining 15 to 20 regular season games that teams have, and you play the playoffs like you normally would, and you have a champion. And everything just gets pushed, like you're saying, and that we're not deciding a champion until August. Now that would have an effect probably on the next season. That's something we talked about yesterday. If there was maybe a weird silver lining in all this of pushing things back, well, maybe that has an impact on next season's idea of like shortening the season or not starting till Christmas or into the new year, some effect like that. And then the third option is they come back in 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it is, and there's like a truncated version of this regular season or a truncated version of the playoffs, best of 5s in the first round, whatever. And it's you still get like a closure to the regular season and of course a closure to the playoffs. What do you does that make sense of those 3 options? I think those are what they would be, right?
Yeah,
unless I'm forgetting another one.
I think the third option probably makes the most sense.
That's what my gut says too.
Basically, let's say, call it at 60 games, whatever it is, and then we have the teams that are in the playoffs, assuming things are ready to go again by middle of April when the playoffs normally start.
Whatever, yeah.
Then just play the playoffs as normal.
So you say even there's no really regular season games remaining. You just call it sorry Blazers, sorry Spurs, sorry Pelicans.
Well, that's the other thing is that, there is probably enough of a gap to say, let's just give it to the Grizzlies. They've been in that right spot for the 8th spot. They deserve it. And just start in April. And
so you say just start the playoffs.
I would just start them as normal because there's so many knock-on effects from if you're playing into August that just don't work because of the Olympics, because of the summer break. And then if you choose then to start next season late, then perhaps that's an option. But I think the NBA would probably prefer to get next season back on a normal schedule, in my opinion. So I think that. But that Adam Silver and the team there have got a lot of thinking to do over the next week or two to decide exactly what to do, because there are so many people affected by this that they have to consider. And, we're seeing Mark Cuban last night on ESPN saying one of his priorities is trying to figure out a way to keep the people who are on the hourly payroll paid, because for some of them that's their only income. And so they're going to be the ones who are affected the most severe.
Yeah, people working concession stands and ushers and janitorial services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an incredibly quick response from Mark Cuban to be interviewed during the game and to come up with that idea anyways. Well, hopefully they will follow through. I assume the Dallas Mavericks will, and every NBA team should follow through, because that should be the priority of businesses throughout the U.S. to take care of those who are worried day to day and month to month.
Yeah, I have trust in a billionaire like Mark Cuban.
I mean,
less
there were
so
three
in some of the other ones. Yeah,
there were 3 teams that wanted fans at their games last night. So I imagine that they will, whenever the season comes back, those kind of teams are still going to want to get that pocket change, the gate receipts from having another 15, 20 games. The Warriors make the most per game of any team in the league. They have nothing to play for this season, but they've got a lot of people to pay.
You're saying the 3 teams that Adrian Wojnarowski reported that in these governor meetings piped up and said, hey, let's wait until there's a government memo from the federal government to say, hey, stop playing games. Apparently Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Rockets, the Pacers, and the Knicks said, originally it was the Knicks, and then the Rockets and Pacers got added to the report that those 3 teams want to hang out until there was something. And that's the worrisome part, is that, every industry has to make their own guidelines here. And so, and really all the testing is coming from the government, governor level and local level rather than the federal level. So everybody, it's sort of every person, every business for themselves, which is a little bonkers.
What do you guys think about sort of, again, the possibilities of what you do with the rest of the regular season?
Well, I mean, the smartest thing to do would be just go into the playoffs, but I don't think that's realistic to happen. I think that even, like I'm saying, the teams that are even out of the playoffs are going to want to play the end of the regular season because there's a lot of money at stake there. So they're going to want to, which makes me think that they will probably play a longer regular season and we won't see NBA players in the Olympics, if there even is an Olympics, just because there's money out there. And I mean, if you're the Pelicans, are you going to want to shut down your season when you, quote unquote, have a chance to make the playoffs? Probably not. And I mean, it seems to make this the most sense that we're just cutting 2 months out of the season and we're just hopping right back into the playoffs when it starts. But is that realistic? I'm not sure.
Certainly unprecedented, whatever we're facing right now. There's no historical landmark similar to this to decide what the right thing to do is. Because when you've had strikes in the past, we've sort of known they were coming and people have at least had a little bit of time to prepare. This one, well, we did have a little bit of time to prepare, but no one, I don't think, expected it to be quite so sudden. I mean, this time yesterday we didn't think the season was going to be suspended. So it's certainly new territory, and everybody is affected by it, whether you're a worker, whether you're a fan, whether you got kids, whatever. Everyone has to be careful because this is a lethal virus that has claimed people's lives, and that has always got to be the top priority here. That no matter, a game is meaningless, a gate receipt is meaningless when people's health is seriously at risk right now.
Yeah, I was hearing some trickling of rumors yesterday afternoon, way before these games were happening, when the governor meetings were happening. Basically, the 2 options on the table, which was suspend this thing and we'll go from there, or no fans in the stands, which is seemingly, according to Woj's reports, where the NBA was leaning. And I initially saw that the NBA, according to some trickles, that the NBA was leaning towards suspension. And I immediately thought, we need leaders in America right now, and Adam Silver is going to be our leader. He is going to be the guy that's going to make that decision and make a hard decision for the league. And then the decision was absolutely made for him, and in a way, it's probably the start of a trickle-down effect to other sports leagues, to other tournaments like the NCAA, March Madness. That could be May Madness. What is wrong with that? I mean, just push it back. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Logistics be damned. There's other priorities in life. And that has to happen. It just has to happen. So Adam Silver has made this decision, and it's been a heck of a year for the NBA, obviously, with David Stern's passing and Kobe Bryant's passing.
Don't forget the China controversy.
The China
at the start
controversy.
Of the season. What
was easily
insane year here.
To skip over that.
Yeah.
And here we are. And it's just something that had to be done.
Yeah.
And it was going to happen because, as Trey said, there are far more people in the NBA that have it. They're just not being tested.
Yeah, and we already have heard all the concerts being canceled, conferences being canceled, colleges, of course, being shut down, other sporting events. You guys are saying the Grand Prix is probably not going to be happening. Who knows with the Olympics? Tons of other sports like World Figure Skating Championships in Montreal. That's been canceled. Alpine skiing canceled. Like anything where there is a social gathering is not great at preventing a virus from spreading. So stop doing it, and that's what everybody is now getting on board with. I'm interested to see what happens with the NCAA. He said, so far, what we know as of recording, they're going to be playing these games, just no fans.
They should cancel it.
I mean,
come on.
I'd be shocked at this point.
I can't see now that they will still go ahead with
it.
Because this was kind of before it came out yesterday with the Rudy Gobert that they were taking a strong step then, I think, by saying no fans. But now this has happened. I just can't see when you consider how many people are going to be, confined to the same locker rooms and hotels and airplanes and all that. It seems a very, very bad risk to take.
Right. So, I mean, I know what a lot of people are wondering right now listening to this. What does this mean for the podcast? I mean, there is no NBA, and we do a daily NBA podcast. We don't really know what the answer is to that, to be completely honest. It's just breaking late last night. But I'm pretty confident in saying, as long as we're all healthy and we can come into the office and see each other every day, and maybe even if we can't and we're at home doing it, the plan is to continue to do or have something for you daily as possible. And maybe we can get a little creative with what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks.
Cue up that cricket music, JD.
Yeah, I hope you have a million cricket puns.
Oh, I do.
We can just do an entire podcast. Oh boy. But yeah, we don't know. So I mean, this is if you have a suggestion of a podcast idea you've always wanted us to try, now's the perfect time to send it in. Tweet at us, #NoDunks at NoDunksInc, or email us, nodunks@theathletic.com.
And be prepared for us not to show up, because honestly, within a week, it could easily be everybody has to be home.
Right.
Yeah. It absolutely could. It feels like, if anything, I don't know, I'm sure it's different from state to state. Here in Georgia, from just interactions with people out and about, it's not a big deal at all to most people. In experiences I've had, I don't know, maybe
I
you guys
disagree.
have
One of my friends is an ER doctor, and he says he expects 50 million hospitalizations within 3 weeks.
No, I am agreeing with that. Yeah. I am saying the day-to-day people that you come across in your life so far, here in Georgia at least, I don't know, people are not talking about it like it's a big deal that it's going to be doing that here. I don't know. It just seems strange to me.
50 million. I mean, I don't know if the American system can hold that sort of...
It absolutely can't. Of course not.
No, that's why they're closing down gatherings to stretch it out, to hopefully make it so that they have time to spread out the people who are going into hospitals and get vaccines and get tests made.
Yeah, we are instituting our own social distances, which is nuts. It should be coming from top down. But yeah, I agree with Skeets in a way. Those who aren't talking to doctors are basically under the impression that this isn't a big deal, when that is the message coming from the highest office in the land. That's what's happening. But there was a congressional doctor, the in-house doctor for Congress and the Supreme Court, that said the exact same thing as your Inside Info doctor there. 70 to 150 million. That's the range of people that are going to be contracted. That's a fifth to half of the population in the U.S., and there are not enough hospital beds. There's 1 million hospital beds that are, and about 80% of them, 70 to 80%, are occupied at all times. So you add that, you need a ventilator for, quite often for this respiration disease. You need respiratory assistance, and those aren't readily available. Mm-hmm. So,
not to mention, there's not a lot of doctors out there. They're all going to be coming down with coronavirus as well. They're working nonstop, night after night. Yeah.
So yeah, we may not be here. We may be doing it remotely, but that's the beauty of a podcast.
That's absolutely right.
In a way. And it may be the beauty of the teams playing on average right now. Doing a little math, it's like 64.66 games. Maybe that's the benchmark now, the template for the NBA to say, if they do end up canceling the rest of the games, and it goes to 66, on average 66, what we've talked about for a good amount of time.
Basically the exact number we've thrown out.
Yeah, cutting, slicing 16 games off. Maybe this is the template going forward. Maybe it takes a terrible disease and situation, but there are people dying, and that's what we got to worry about.
If you are worried you have been exposed to the virus, make sure you use telehealth. All right, and just don't go into a clinic without calling ahead. In all serious, there is a dedicated hotline if you think you've been exposed. Just call it 1-800-456-7707. At least to do your small part. That's the weird thing. Everybody's got to try and do their own little small part to flatten the curve, as you said.
Can I interject with some breaking news here from Adrian Wojnarowski? Mm-hmm. Jazz star Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for the coronavirus.
All right.
Jazz players privately say that Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room. Wow. According to Woj, touching other players and their belongings.
Whoa. Wow. Whoa. I mean, we didn't even address it when we were bringing up Gobert there right off the top. Everybody's seen the clip of him a couple days ago when it's been mandated that the press needs to be 6 to 8 feet back, and you've seen the clip. He wasn't afraid of it, touching all of the mics, touching all of the phones that the reporters use to record the conversation, and now this breaking news from Woj.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of the heat for that, but doesn't that mean though the virus was already on those? So I'm saying one of the reporters.
Well, who knows?
He didn't necessarily get it from.
No, that's
the
what
reporters.
I'm saying. I know he's taking the. Well, people are putting so much of it on him, but I mean, I guess it was already out there first.
It is a strange thing that there's this 6 to 8 foot distancing little protocol that they had, but the recorders are allowed to be as close as possible, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I always thought it was people standing back, and there have been barriers, and people had to stand behind those barriers, but it never occurred to me that there would be recorders until I saw that clip, really.
So Mitchell has tested positive.
That's 100% true. He has tested positive for the coronavirus. League sources have told Woj, and Jazz players are saying privately.
Yeah.
None coming out on the record that Rudy had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings.
Did we ever find out about Emmanuel Mudiay, who was also out with an illness? Was it ever confirmed?
I haven't seen that report either.
That he had tested positive?
Which you would think we would have heard that he did.
Yeah.
Considering we heard that Mitchell did already.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Right.
And I know Royce Young was doing an unbelievable job with ESPN last night at that Jazz Thunder game. He's obviously in OKC. I heard him this morning saying, they were testing all the players, the Utah players, to then hopefully get them back to Salt Lake City. And there was this idea that, well, if you tested positive, you're going to be on one plane or maybe even taking a bus and, to be quarantined away from the people that didn't test, that tested negatively, and they'd have their own flight. I mean, and then when they get back to Salt Lake City, same thing. One hospital for the people that have the virus, one that don't, to remain quarantined, because you could have it, of course, still.
Yeah, Royce Young was doing an incredible job on ESPN, and we saw his wife, Carrie Young, even tweet, leave that microphone at the arena.
Well, yeah.
And now it's starting to, affect our tiny little circle of the media world. But people, from OKC, whether they cover the Jazz having to travel home and them being 1,000 miles away from their home and their loved ones, and the travel ban coming from Europe, and people worrying if they can get their kids home from Europe, but yes, they can, but no, they can't. And that was a very puzzling night overall. But what was really odd about the situation in OKC there was that Rudy had these symptoms throughout the afternoon. Mm-hmm. He gets tested, but he feels fine enough to play, and his status is changed to questionable. And then the results of the test come down after he was changed to questionable, and he has coronavirus, and now he can't play. Let's stop everything. And it was such a strange scene because for half an hour, there were performers going in OKC on the floor, and they were literally, dance pack, you go. A musical artist who can sing, you go. And they were really just taking turns. It was such a strange scene. It was, the contagion thing it was a movie. It really was. Yeah,
I saw Henry Abbott of True Hoop in his newsletter giving a lot of praise to Donnie Strack was his name. He is the Jazz. I don't know his exact title off the top of my head, but the man that came out to tell the officials, to tell the league, hey, he just tested positive. Like, we probably shouldn't have this game. Like, we need to get these guys quarantined.
Last second.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like right at the last second.
He was sprinting
Yeah.
onto the floor.
Yeah,
Right.
the details of it, like reading through Royce's story, reading through other stories, that it happened seconds before the game started. They had to restart Zombie Nation for the fans because they were ready, standing as the Thunder fans do
Right.
for the tip-off.
Right, right.
You know, they stand until their team scores. They were ready to do that, and then suddenly it started over again. Everybody's like, "Huh, that doesn't seem right." So yeah, it's weird stuff.
And
going on.
just so I have this right, Strack is the Thunder's vice president of human and player performance. So actually, with OKC, finds out the results, sprints out there, and says we need to shut this game down immediately.
Yeah, he's been there forever with the Utah
Right,
Jazz.
right.
Woj dropping some info. This isn't a bomb whatsoever. But the Rockets did favor a 3 to 4 weeks pause since we lumped them into those teams that wanted to play in front of fans. They wanted a pause, less enthusiastic about the idea of playing games in the short term without fans. But this was inevitable, and it's going to happen in seemingly every sports league. But the NHL hasn't followed suit.
I mean,
although
it's
they've
just a
talked about
matter
it.
of time, right?
Well, you would think so.
Especially, heck, don't they share locker rooms
Yeah.
with half of these NBA teams?
Well, you're talking
Right?
about that
I
Venn
mean,
diagram and
yeah.
the crossovers for sure, and they're playing the same arenas. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might as well throw this out here too. Talking about the NBA being postponed for 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is weeks. We obviously have a scheduled event with Hoop Talks in Toronto on March 28th. I've told you guys about it. You guys went and bought all the tickets. I'm guessing it's very unlikely that event is going to happen. It's not officially canceled, but us flying up there and you guys all coming together and doing what we shouldn't be doing, all being in a social gathering, I think it's unlikely that it happens. Being what? What's the date today?
The 12th.
I mean, 2 weeks and change
Yeah.
away. Unlikely, but we'll keep you up to date as soon as we know whether that event is officially canceled. Again, I assume it would be, especially when you consider that there was supposed to be it was a part viewing party. It was going to be Raptors Grizzlies. That game,
Won't be going
99.9%
ahead.
not happening. So unfortunate, but that's just where we are with this thing. And yeah. We are going to try to keep continuing the podcast. Get your ideas in. And this weekend, we're afforded now to be even a little crazier than normal. We were joking. The last 2 podcasts we've done have been quite insane at times as it is. Because, you can start to get a little loopy around mid-March.
We're banning shorts though.
Yeah.
We don't want all that skin.
Yeah. Sorry, man. You got to wear pants.
Gotta wear
from here
pants.
on out.
Have you seen the forecast for the next few days?
No.
No, it's actually going to rain a bit.
Oh,
but,
okay. So, yeah, if you have ideas, though, we'll try things. I want to watch an old game with you.
basketball or cricket?
Yeah. No, not cricket.
This is the time. You want me in... I'll trade you Survivor for cricket. I'll watch Survivor if you watch cricket with me.
Wow.
Survivor is in 8 days.
Survivor never ends, ever.
You
Well,
guys have been
that's funny.
talking about it for a lot longer than 8 days.
I tell you, you go, it's the final tonight, and then next week's you got to get in.
Well,
This
it's
is a great
funny you say
series.
that, man. You talk about this virus affecting everybody. They've postponed the filming of seasons 41 and 42 now of
Wow.
even Survivor with the idea of they do it in Fiji where I don't believe there have been any confirmed positive tests, but the idea of all these guys flying from all over the world, men and women that make the show happen, they're like, well, we can't do what everybody else is saying we shouldn't do. So, yeah, it's been postponed. Even Survivor.
Wow.
Even Jeff Probst, not immune to the coronavirus. Crazy, crazy stuff.
Well, he's probably immune to the coronavirus. He's just not immune to the effects of the... Come on, it's Jeff Probst.
It's Jeff Probst. You're right. You're right.
Superman.
All those cargo pants.
Exactly.
And his hat. Again, so get your questions in. We'll be beach stepping at the very least. So if you have questions, both NBA related or not, you guys send in a lot of silly questions. Keep them coming. NoDunks@theathletic.com, and we'll go beach stepping once or twice. All right, we do have anything else, guys, before we move on here? We do have a tweet of the night from our man TK, but first, a word from one of our sponsors.
Guys, I mentioned it earlier this week. I bought my tux for my wedding like a damn fool.
Sucker.
I know. And now, 17 years later, it's just hanging in my closet. But I've been inspired by the black tux, and I'm starting a new business. It's called the Fat Tux. You can now rent my tux. If you have a 36-inch waist and you're attending an early aughts themed wedding, I can hook you up. But back to the black tux. Who believes every groom deserves a better experience when it comes to finding formal wear, a suit or tuxedo for their big day. I'm sure you've heard by now the black tux was actually started by 2 guys who had one of the worst tuxedo fittings you can imagine. Turns out, they aren't alone in this frustration. Just listen to these 1-star reviews from competitor tuck shops that shall not be named. Go elsewhere. This place is pretty terrible, unless you're dressing like your grandpa for Halloween. That's the 4th time I've heard that one. And it still holds up.
Hi-yo!
We felt weird buying a suit from somebody so unhappy. We were afraid his bad vibes might follow us to our wedding day, so we left. What I love about Black Tux is that they have an easy online ordering process that brings your suit or tuxedo straight to you. Just pick a style at thebblacktux.com and request a free home try-on so you can feel the fit and quality before you commit. And if online isn't your style, the Black Tux has showrooms all over the country where you can find your fit and plan your look, which was very handy when I did it a couple of years ago because I don't know my inseam and I certainly don't know how to measure my neck. And they do it for you.
Do you know what
It's
you
great.
are now?
Nope.
What's your neck?
I don't know. 14 to 28. Who knows? Who knows?
They say if you wrap the waistband of your pants around your neck, that's how you can decide. So if you're a 33, you wrap it around and it touches in the back, you're a 16.5.
Oh, that's still math, though. I'm going in. I'm going into that fitting room. Whether you're buying your outfit or looking to rent, you won't find a formal wear experience or designs like the ones you find at the Black Tux. If you want your wedding to be remembered for the right reasons, order your suit or tuxedo at thebblacktux.com and enjoy 10% off with code DUNKS. Wow, so hard not to say no dunks, but it's just dunks. DUNKS. That's thebblacktux.com, code DUNKS for 10% off your purchase. The Black Tux, formal wear for the moment.
You're saying if I take off my belt and wrap it around my neck, how will it decide, like, what?
Your waist is basically twice your neck
Oh,
circumference.
okay, twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should be able to wrap it around twice?
No, half. Like if you're just holding it up, you're just holding it up.
Well, let's
Like
do
a
it.
pair of pants. All right,
Okay,
take your
let's
pants
let's say I'm like a 30.
This has gotten even weirder.
off. Yeah, this has gotten weirder.
Okay.
I would use the waistband of your pants. That's what I'm familiar with. Because your belt, I mean, it's got holes on it. You know?
You're saying my belt's too long.
But what you would do,
it's going to be longer than your
Yeah,
waist.
yeah.
we'll
Go
pop
ahead.
our pants off later, and I'll show you.
Go
what we're
ahead.
talking
I see what you're saying now. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to touch his belt. No, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm good.
Sweet.
And then wrap it around.
Social distancing, belt distancing.
Man. No, your belt's fine. It's the one thing you can touch. No, I'm kidding. All right, so thebblacktux.com. Let's get to tweet of the night.
Tweet of the night. Wow.
Twitter.
There were 4 NBA games played last night, including what very well may be the last game of Vince Carter's career.
Yeah.
An overtime loss to the New York Knicks for the Atlanta Hawks. The coolest moment, however, was the last 16.5 seconds, I believe, maybe 19.5
Yeah, it was 19.
seconds. Yeah. Carter checks in. Crowd's going crazy. The game is over. Comes in, and the Knicks just let him take a 3 from the top of the key. He drains it. Very cool to see. Vince tweeted after the game, tweeted, "Such a weird night, but I'm truly thankful for each and every person during this 22-year journey. If this is really it, I thank everyone for your love and support for all these years. Be easy. Peace."
Peace. Vince Carter.
If this is really it, he says.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
Holding out
so strange. So strange.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole
so the news filtering throughout the game, and then to be, Lloyd Pierce, I think he said to him, like, you want to just...
This could be it.
Yeah, and Vince was like, sure. So he went
I
out
love
there.
that he hit the 3, though.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, they definitely gave it to him. They're like, yeah, step into it. Game was over.
Yeah.
And his career could be bookended by shortened
Yeah.
seasons, too. He came in with the lockout season, only played 50 games that year. And now,
Yep.
who the heck knows what's happening now?
Yeah. And then had another lockout within that whole time frame.
That's right, yeah.
He played that long, 22 years. Very, very strange, if that is truly the ending of Vince Carter. But he seemed happy that he hit his final shot, if it is the case.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a little bit of pressure for it to be your final shot. It's wide open. You got to make it.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, he did like a 20-minute press conference after the game. Obviously, it was pretty emotional at times throughout it, but that was pretty cool. All right, Vince Carter, tweet of the night. Love it. Pick 'em results. I mean, look, the game we were picking from got canceled. Kill the music, JD. Pelicans, Kings. It was done. They're like, we're not playing it, because after we found out about Courtney Kirkland, the referee, having just officiated the Jazz game days prior. But here's the results right now, where we're at from whenever we pick this back up. Trey's 4-2. Everybody else 3-3.
Yeah, well, I think the Pelicans probably would have won last night. So whoever picked the Pelicans gets the W, I say.
No. It's taken off the board. I still owe a pick'em payoff. We haven't forgotten. We have just been busy. Weather has been crappy down here at times, but we'll get to it, especially now. I would assume we can basically lock it in that it's going to be happening either tomorrow or at the very least early next week. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, I will be paying off February's pick'em loss, and then we got to figure out what we're doing with this. I guess we just wait and go from there. Trey's loving this. He's fine. He's 4-2, but the three of us, three-way tie. My goodness.
More sports news from The Athletic's Paul Tenorio, who reports that multiple sources at Major League Soccer teams have been told the league is suspending games immediately.
Going to be a domino effect here for leagues that have it.
Oddly, though, the Australian Grand Prix will go ahead, according to Hayley Stanway, after the 9 other teams have agreed to continue the race. I can't believe that will. The race isn't until Sunday, so there is still time for it to be cancelled. But that seems very, very silly right now.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Crazy, but we saw how quickly this stuff changes.
Yes.
You're right. Just last night as a perfect example. Guys, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NoDunksInc. You know we're on Facebook. We're still there. Facebook.com/NoDunksInc.
Well, I guess it's official. We're now on Facebook.
Oh, so weird to hear Garth at the end of the show. And as I've said many times, email us your NBA questions and your comments to nodunks@theathletic.com. We did hit the beach yesterday. We had some laughs. Oh, another just pure insane one. Did you get any Instagram ads for Canon camera?
No, you will now, though, after that.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. It didn't work.
Interesting.
But, yeah, it's, it'll be there. Don't worry.
You got to look at every kind of place you would get an ad.
Yeah, have you been looking at
Not just
Facebook?
Instagram, man. Every website list.
Cricket.com.
Yeah. No, I was checking Instagram because that's usually that's where my wife and I often we'll be talking about something, then we'll show each other the phone an hour later, and it's
classic.
like, look at this, crazy, wild stuff. We were talking about we had a leak in the house once. One of the ads that popped up in hers an hour later was for piping and stuff like that. Just wild.
People were excited about talking about Steve Davis,
Yeah.
the Golden Nug. People were pumped. Made up a photo of the podcast.
Yeah. Maybe there's a podcast in there, a snooker podcast. What do you think?
Yeah, we can podcast about anything, man.
All right.
So go check out that Beach Steppin' podcast. We dropped that yesterday. And for right now, you will hear from us tomorrow on Friday. So keep the questions coming.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thank you for joining us, folks. And remember, take care of yourself and each other.
Embrace the day, people.
You could stay